Here's a reality check for you. A staggering 80% of people who solely focus on positive thoughts without taking concrete actions still struggle financially. That would be like watering a garden to grow without planting any seeds. Let's face it, simply visualizing success will not pay the bills. And today, in part two of my special 4-part September Saga Magnetic Wealth Mastery, we are going to explore how pairing abundant thoughts with practical strategies and meaningful actions is the dynamic trio that paves the way for genuine wealth. If you're tired of hearing the same old basic mindset and motivational fluff talk, you've come to the right show. Welcome to ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast, where we dish on everything from managing that crazy brain of yours to manifesting abundance to my straightforward, actionable steps that will make you major money online. Now, I'm not your typical multimillionaire entrepreneur. It takes a small village to keep my anxiety and depression in check. I'm inherently disorganized with an intense obsession with office supplies. Your girl here is a digital marketing content expert who's generated over $200 million in sales. I promise by tuning in twice a week, you will get a much needed refreshing dose of truth, clarity, and cash making advice. Now let's get to it. What up, my people, my posse, my fellow crazies? This is your host, Tiffany Carter, and you are listening to the show that is going to help you grow your business, your bank account, that big, beautiful brain of yours, your abundance, your relationships, and everything in between. This is part two of my special September saga that I've put together so that you can master your wealth during harvest season. So we are prepping you so that you're going to make more money than you ever have in your life in 2023. But there is a step-by-step process, just as there is when you're wanting to grow any form of a crop, any form of a vegetable, any form of a fruit. And I'm taking you through this so that we can update the faulty programming that has gone on in your mind for many, many years, decades for many of you. Here's the truth. Positive thoughts alone will not fill your bank account, which is why I know you get annoyed when you see people with the mantras, the affirmations, you roll your eyes. You've probably tried it. It felt really fake to you. It felt phony. It felt like you're lying to yourself. And lying to yourself is not an effective abundant mindset strategy. It's not going to work. That's why my abundance card deck that I have, which has like the exact mantras that I use, and I've used for years in order to make me millions of dollars and manifest pretty much everything I have. If you have that deck, which it's only like $9.99 to get the digital deck, that's in my link in bio on Instagram and TikTok. You'll notice each one of those. You know what? Let's do a card pull right now. And those of you who are watching on YouTube, ProjectME TV, take a second while I get the cards out. Make sure you subscribe, comment below, say hi. Do you like my money hat? And yes, I want to acknowledge if you're going out of order, it's okay. If you landed on this episode first, trust that you're supposed to listen to this one first, but you do need to listen to all 4 parts. And this is part 2. This is my card deck. Obviously, if you're listening, you can't see it, but it's gorgeous. And let's do a card pull. I want to give an example of creating a mantra that like your brain can actually believe, because I'm not really good at bullshitting in general. I just don't even have that tone of voice. And I mean, listen to my voice. I'm sick right now. So I sound like God knows what I sound like. I sound like a hobgoblin, probably. I don't have that chipper, phony tone of voice. I can't pull it off. And my ego doesn't buy into it. That's why I always give you guys facts, stats, and evidence and proof, because then it can't resist and push against that. Okay. I shuffled while we were talking. I know you can't hear it on the audio. I wish you could, but you just have to trust that. And I am going to pick one of these cards. You guys can see me on YouTube. I get to make millions by simply being me. I get to make millions by simply being me. Okay. And it's like your brain probably went, huh, really? I do. And that's great because at least it's not resisting it saying, like, no, you can. It's going, oh, I can. Yeah, you can. It doesn't mean that you already are and it's in the bank right now, but yes, absolutely, you can. So most people believe that if they just visualize success, vision board success, write it down, journal about it, it'll magically appear. But the reality is, wealth is attracted by action, strategy, and a mindset that embraces challenges. So we have to uncover the missing link between positive thinking and actual wealth creation. So we're going to shift some gears around in your mind so that you can see what works. And here's how we start it. Before I get into all this, though, part of why I did this 4-part series is for my birthday month. Shout out my fellow Virgos. And to celebrate the launch of my first ever workbook that's going out there, which is Make More and Work Less. I've turned it into a printable guided workbook course. You can get it for free right now before it comes out to the public for sale by leaving an Apple Podcast review. Put your name or Instagram, TikTok handle in the review so we can cross-reference. Take a screenshot. This has to be on Apple Podcasts. So take a screenshot, then email it to us at support@projectmewithtiffany.com. In the description on YouTube, or if you swipe up in the show notes, the email is right there and the simple instructions are right there. It takes 30 seconds, or you can wait until we put it out for sale. But I was just going to have it as a workbook, but I allowed space and time for ideas and opportunities and creative intel to come to me versus forcing it and pushing it. And it has to be out by this deadline and it has to be out now. And because I allowed that space, I went, oh my God, why not create a guided workbook course? So I'm coaching you, and you can either use the audio that we're including or the video or both. And then you're pairing it with the workbook, with writing, with specific activities. Genius, right? And there's a prime example of attracting prosperity beyond positive thinking. Me just having positive thinking of, I want to create a workbook and I want to be able to help people on a bigger level. And I want to have an offer that's a no-brainer for everybody. And I want to really celebrate it and be abundant and give it out for free in exchange for Apple Podcast reviews and da 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 da. That's lovely, but that doesn't make something happen. That doesn't put it into fruition. You have to actually start taking steps and do things. So let me just use the workbook as an example, because it is something I had resistance around. So my longtime listeners, shout out to you guys, know that I have had a book in the works since 2020. It's 70% done. And it's not moved a needle since then. There's a lot of resistance. There's fear of being seen on that level. I know my book would end up being a mega bestseller because I have a very fucked up story. My story is like a multi-part lifetime binging situation series. I wonder who would play me. That'd be an interesting character. That'd be interesting. I wonder who should play me. Anyway, I know how well it will do. It's similar to the same intuitive thought I had about TikTok is I knew I'd blow up on there very quickly, which is also why I resisted it. So some of the things that you're resisting or haven't completed, it's because one side of it is because you know that it's going to take off and you know it's going to be successful. And then you have fears around being able to handle that energy, being able to manage it, being able to not lose yourself or lose your time or lose your health or lose whatever. And then on the other side, not completing something is also a way of protecting yourself, because if it's not complete, you're not putting it out into the world. And therefore you're protecting yourself from potential criticism, potential failure, potential negative feedback, potentially upsetting people in your family, potential from people saying random shit or picking out a typo. So what I did in using this as an example for you to get into the action of having this stuff work is I went, okay, we already know me trying to force myself to finish this book. That's not working. Okay. Like it's 2023 now. Like we've got to become to reality, right? Like I'm accepting that this is the truth without judgment. It is what it is. Maybe that whatever I wrote so far isn't meant to go into the world right now. Maybe it's never meant to go into the world right now. And that's okay. We've got to let that go even temporarily in order to let something new in that's really meant to be right now. Because if that was meant to be right now, it would be. So apply this to stuff in your own life. And I went, okay, what could be an action step that I could take that I don't have as much resistance to, that doesn't feel as scary? It still might feel uncomfortable. I still might have stuff come up, but not as scary. And I was like, well, I love workbooks. I've always loved workbooks. Even as a kid, I love like activity books. I like adult coloring books. I loved those workbooks. Tell me if you guys like these. When you're a kid and like your parents would take you to dinner, and there was like word search and there were like all these like games. It was before basically you were given like video games and an iPhone to play at dinner. You would do these activity books. And it's like, I loved that. I actually because it was fun and it kept me engaged. And I was like, that sounds fun. That sounds like something fun that I could create. And it's more bite-sized that I could do for my audience. And then I could do a giveaway for it and get some feedback from it, because one of my fears is that I am not great at grammar or spelling. And it's like, well, that's easy, Tiff. You just find a proofreader. I know. I get that. But like, that doesn't mean our blocks are not reasonable. It's fear, right? False evidence appearing real. So that's one of my things I come up with, or I want it to be so good. And what if it's not this good? Then I get stuck in perfectionism because it needs to be like this certain way. No, it doesn't. That's why there's different editions. I could have this be edition 1. And then if I want to add to it, I can add to it. It's a printable, it's digital. So I can add to it. We can update pages. If there's a typo, it can be fixed. It's really not that important. It's really not. We can make all of this can happen. And that got me into action because I removed the resistance. So what action can you take that you will actually have some momentum on? Look at stuff when it comes to, God, I'm sweating because I'm sick. My fever's probably breaking while I'm talking to you, but that's okay. And I'm medicated, just so you guys know. So like there's extra sauce going on in this 4-part series. I want you to take a look at when it comes even to like a fitness goal. Yeah, sure. Someone could say, ideally, you work out 6 days a week and you run sprints and you do burpees and you weight lift and you have a, day where you do yoga. But if you spell all of that out and all the things you have to do and what is total optimum, what is like almost perfection, you're going to have natural resistance to it. It's going to feel daunting. It's going to feel like too much because you're starting from over here at point A. And that's like point G. It's way too much of a spread. You got to close the gap. So start with just a walk. Go on my abundance walks, and using this as an analogy. That is starting from A and going to B. You're not going to have as much resistance because you've closed the gap. It's not as much of a stretch. Kind of picture yourself like a rubber band, right? You don't really need to stretch probably to go from even A to C, but A to G, man, now we've got a lot of things going on. So just take that next step, that next indicated step in the thing that you want to do that you'll actually follow through on. And then you use that energy of empowerment that you followed through on that thing to go to the next thing, to go to the next thing. So one of my coaches and dear friends, Kara Alwo's a 9-time best-selling author. She teaches to start with the cover of the book. Don't worry about writing it yet. Get the cover, the colors, the mood, the title, like start there and use the energy of that to get you excited to start writing. And I don't even necessarily want you to start writing. Maybe for you, it feels like it's less of a stretch to do an outline of it. If you're wanting to start a podcast, don't go down a whole path of I need to have this and I have to have a team and all that. start with the name, start with the cover graphic of the show, maybe come up with a few episode titles and topics that you'd love to talk about and just start there. Don't go to G because that's going to keep you stuck in inaction. And then more inaction creates more inaction. So you've probably heard the saying, proper thoughts lead to proper actions. I want you to look at it like this. Proper actions lead to proper thoughts. It's actually easier to do the second part. We go into action, that creates proper thoughts because we're like, oh, I at least went on a walk and that felt good. And at least I did something and at least I made progress. And then that leads you to like wanting to take another walk again and maybe do something a little more again the day after that. But our thoughts are so loud and are so ingrained and have been there for so long that takes more nitty-gritty discipline to rewire those. And it's very possible. That's why we're doing this 4-part series, but it takes more. I want you to use the energy of proper action to proper thoughts, and you'll see a big shift. All right, let's move into this blunt statement that you've got to hear. Stop telling yourself a story that is keeping you stuck. I have to call myself on this too. This doesn't like go away. I can see and usually catch myself pretty quickly when I'm doing it. But it's also why I have ongoing coaches at all times, because we can't see all of our shit. We certainly can't see the subconscious shit. We have to have someone point it out to us, where it's kind of funny. We can give advice to other people and then like we don't give that same advice to ourselves. It's so easy because when you're in it, it's very hard to see it. When you're in the mess and the chaos and the fear and the drama of your own mind and of adulting and all the childhood dysfunction stuff that comes up around money, and then all the beliefs that are in there, and then the fear of being seen, and then the fear of what will they think, and the judgment and the self-doubt. So important to have that. If you want to go deeper into this stuff, I highly recommend you see if there's any new membership spots inside my famous ProjectME Posse business coaching membership. We make sure we do at least one a month on this kind of work, on money mindset work, but it's also where you're getting straight up, very clear, actionable, profitable strategies to grow your business from starting from $0 to $15,000 a month. That's who that's really geared towards. And there's a library of over 300 prior live trainings, weekly live trainings by me and other special guest experts, and you collaborate with the other members. It's also like a support group for people who want to make money doing what they love and they want more out of life. They don't want to settle for the standard, for the status quo, and they don't want to depend on any man, woman, job, or institution for money ever again. Like attracts like. So if you enjoy me, you're going to enjoy the other Posse members, and you can hear from them by going to the sign up page, projectmewithtiffany.com/ProjectMe Posse. If it's full, the page will say it's full. And we just had a sale, which is rare. We had a bonus sale. And so it might be full, but go check. And I also have one ticket left now for my 2-day in-person business mastermind, the Abundance League, right here in Los Angeles at my beach house, just 15 minutes from LAX. Best investment, hands down, you could make in yourself and your business, period. End of story. The link is also in the show notes. It's in the description on YouTube as well. So you can swipe up and read through the details. And if you have some questions and you want to make sure, like, Tiff, I absolutely know, like, it'd be crazy for me to not learn from you for 2 full days for $3,500. But I want to just make sure, like, I'm a great fit. I'm not going to show up there and be like someone who's like, way behind, or where I like stick out like a sore thumb. I want to make sure it's a great use of my time, energy, and money. Then DM me on Instagram, or you can email me and use the email that's in the show notes. And if you want to DM me on Instagram at ProjectMe with Tiffany, do that. But like, don't wait on it. I can't add any more spots, even if you want to hand me money. which is lovely. And I love money, but I won't be able to add spots to something like this. First of all, we keep it at an intimate size so that everyone gets personalized, customized attention, direction, and coaching, but also the fire marshal will get called. Okay. Like we're not having that life. So all that stuff is right there in the show notes. But let's really sink into this story that's keeping you stuck. There are repetitive stories that I have heard from coaching over 150,000 people worldwide of all walks of life. One is the time story. Either I'm starting too late, I'm too old, I'm too young, the market's already so saturated, or I don't have the time, I should have done this before kids, or I have all this going on in my life, or I have a full-time job and I can't just quit, Tiffany. So it's around time and energy, right? So there's that story that's repetitive. I used to have that. So I would always say, this fan overhead is really giving a weird vibe. I need to turn that off. It's like giving me a strobe effect, which I'm sure is, sorry about that for you guys who are watching. It was becoming mystical, but not in a cool way. So like those of you who are, what was I saying? I told you I was highly medicated. Give me a moment. I would always say when someone asked how I was doing before, I would say, I'm exhausted. I'm so exhausted. I'm so exhausted. I'm so busy. I'm so busy. It is something so cultural, especially in the United States and in the corporate world. It's like, and I see it a lot with moms too, and with parents in general. It's like, who's more exhausted? Who's more busy? Busy, 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 busy. Well, you keep saying that. Do you think you're going to manifest being less busy and manifest more energy? No. But you just keep saying it and you keep saying it. It's like on this repetitive loop, like you're a damn parrot. We gotta kick that story to the curb. It's not serving you. And it's like, well, how do I kick it to the curb, Tiff, if it's my truth? So let me go through the other two most common repetitive stories I hear from people. The second one, which I'm sure you can assume, is money. I don't have the money to start a business. I don't have the money right now to invest in doing your mastermind, Tiffany. I don't have the money to do blah, blah, blah. I can't start a side hustle because I don't have the time or the money. And it all becomes around money, 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 money. And it's repetitive. And that's usually inherited from somebody where you heard someone saying that in childhood. It's just so ingrained. And that doesn't mean I'm telling you to lie to yourself and say, oh, I have all this money. But there's a shift that we can do in truth. And I'm going to get to all of that. But for example, the shift would be, how can I find the money? I know how much money this is going to make me by doing this. I know this is something I need to do. How can I get creative and get the money? What can I sell on Poshmark to get the money? Can I have a garage sale to get the money? Who can I ask to get the money? Can I apply for a business loan to get the money? Can I use PayPal credit to get the money? That's a vibe a lot of you didn't know existed. And you can use PayPal credit for any of my offerings. There's lots of options. But if you keep telling yourself, I can't afford it right now, money's tight right now, I invested in this other thing that didn't pay off. The most expensive shit that you'll invest in is the stuff that you don't use. So it's kind of like my stock portfolio. If I called up my financial advisor and I said, hey, I don't want to invest in any more stocks because the stock market went down last month. It's not how it works. You've got to double down and triple down. I'm not saying you willy-nilly and carelessly throw money at something, but you've got to keep investing. You're going to have investments that don't pay off. Maybe you didn't fully show up. Maybe you were in a bad energy. Maybe you fell for some fantasy marketing. Maybe some people are crooks and cons, which is going to happen in business. It doesn't escape anyone. Any of these major success stories you hear from people, there's been bankruptcies, there's been business failures, there's been people embezzling from them, and then they've also had major wins. But if the way to lose is to prevent yourself from investing the time, energy, and money because you're trying to protect yourself, and that's coming from scarcity. That's a story. And the third one that I hear all the time from people is, that they don't believe they can do it. They don't believe they have what it takes. They're stuck on a loop that I need to have more certifications. I need to be more well-spoken. I don't know how to do tech. I don't know how to do social media, Tiffany. I'm not good on video, and stacking all these things that they don't know how to do or things that they need to be in order to be successful at this thing. I used it as well. It's why it took me 10 years to start ProjectME with Tiffany Carter, the podcast and the Business Coaching Academy. 10 years from having the idea, the name, the logo, and I had money in the bank, and I had all the business acumen, and I had the receipts, and I had the confidence in the business area. I didn't have back then. I had 10 years ago, I had no self-worth whatsoever. I mean, I had a little bit when it came to like career, but that was about it. I thought you had to be Polly the influencer with the long blonde hair, with the ethnically ambiguous tan, and be a size 00 with bouncing around beaches in Bali with free the nipple. And that's what you had to be in order for people to want to watch you and listen to you online. And then my second thing was, who the hell would listen to me? I'm not Oprah. I'm not some like celebrity status person, and they could just go listen to those people or some famous author. So who am I to think someone would listen to me when you can just go listen to them? And I know these are resonating with you. So I definitely want you sharing this you can DM me, you can take a screenshot, share this series on your social media, share it with friends, share it with your downline, share it with anyone who you know wants more and wants to hear a different straight up perspective on stuff. Share it with your sales team. I have a lot of realtors who listen to the show. Like, you want to get people selling. This is the stuff, because this is the stuff that keeps you stuck. So if you want, and if you want abundance to flow, we just have to remove the debris. Let's not make it harder than it needs to be. So let's unpack these various stories. I did a little bit already, but like the time thing, I don't want you telling your brain, I have infinite amount of time. It's going to go, you're full of shit. We have, 6 children or whatever. But the difference between my clients who genuinely, I could even buy into the story if they said they didn't have time and energy. I always think of this one client. Hopefully she's listening. I won't say her name because I didn't ask for permission. She has 6 kids. Full-time job, like in a high responsibility job, not like I call them jobby jobs, a job where you can kind of like do some shit on the side, like a lot of travel, husband, all the things. And it was without a question for her to work with me and do my 2-month private business coaching program and to be in the posse. I think she was in my mastermind at one point too. It was without a question, without a doubt. I never heard out of her mouth, I just don't have the time. And I've asked her about it. And I was like, you of all people could say that. And I would buy into it. Right. Like, I'm amazed at what you do. And she goes, but how would that serve me? She goes, I have to just reprioritize and restack my deck into finding the time. And that's why she's so successful, is because she does that. How does she looks at it of, who can I leverage, not use, but what can I leverage? Who can I leverage to get my time back? This is why I hired you, Tiffany, because you've taken the guesswork out. So it's going to save me all of this time. You're going to cut out all the fluff, all the unnecessary stuff, because that's your coaching style. And I just know I need to focus on that. And I'm not spending all this time on this course and Googling this and trying to figure out this and asking this person this and that and the other thing. I'm just getting right to it. So that just saved me time. That just got my time back. Then she set additional boundaries with her family and let them know that she's pursuing starting her own personal brand, and divvied up responsibilities. Like, you guys got to help because this is for the greater good of the family. So if you're starting with the time thing, there's a lot of stuff that is eating your time and energy. A lot of you, it's even more energy than time. You're exhausted and drained from people, places, and things that are no longer serving you. And it eats at your time because you're like a zombie and you just want to, like, at the end of the day, go into a scroll hole and go into like a Netflix binge and drool and look in a corner of a wall because you've been so depleted that you can't even imagine how you'd be able to have the time and energy to go to another level in your business, to expand it, to start at whatever stage that you're in. And money's irrelevant. Look at what I said to you. I had, I think, 2 million in the bank, 2 or 2.2, something like that in the bank when I started ProjectME. So it wasn't money. It was I believed I had to look at a different way. I believed that I had the self-worth belief of why would someone listen to me when they could go listen to Wayne Dyer or something like that, like some famous author or Tony Robbins. And then I also had the energy one. I was like, oh my God, another business. This sounds like a lot of work. Where's the energy? But my energy was being totally sucked by energy vampire friends, by even some employees I had, by me over giving in my personal life, by me not prioritizing my health and my energy, which will get me more back, by me being overly self-reliant and self-efficient and quote unquote an independent woman. That was a story I was hiding behind. And I'm all about being an independent woman, an independent person. But I made it into a story like doing everything myself, like it was noble. It's not noble when you're not fucking happy and when you're exhausted and you're not making freedom wealth. That's not freedom. You're creating a self-imposed prison, and I will not have it on my watch. So you've got to stop telling yourself the story that's keeping you stuck and start telling yourself a new story. Your job and your homework from this episode is to write your new story around your main excuses. And typically people only have like 2 main really loud excuses. What's your new story going to be? And write it in a way that's believable. You know, what is that way? So let's do the money one, because I just gave you the time and energy one. Let's do the money one because I know how big that is. And you're going, Tiffany, it's so funny how many people say it. Rich people also say it too. I have clients who are making a ton of money and they'll have a bunch of expenses coming up for about their house, or they just invested in Facebook ads and they've had a lot of money going out lately. So it triggers their scarcity and their stuff. So you got to look at the opportunity cost, flip it. What is it going to cost you to not invest in growing your business, in starting your business, in putting this thing out into the world, in order to create something, in order to monetize your skills, your gifts, your intellectual property, so you can start making some passive income, so you can make enough money to quit your job, so you can have multiple revenue streams. So it's not all dependent on you only trading your time for money. You want to be making more money and less of your time, which is something that I have an expertise in, and I have the receipts to show for it. What is the cost of you not doing it? You're so focused on the cost of, okay, going to Tiffany's mastermind is $3,500. And if you're, traveling, as I wipe my nose, literally with my sweatshirt because I'm sexy. Thank you. I need to blow my nose, by the way, but we're wrapping up here soon. I'll keep it together. I'll keep it together for you. But what is it costing you energetically, physically, mentally, and financially? Because if we're using me as an example, all of my stuff is tax deductible because I'm a high level business and marketing expert. So it's a tax deduction for your business. So you already get, let's just say, subtract 40% from the cost of something relatively is what you save. Okay. I can't speak for every country and every state and every province, but let's just say it's 35 to 40%. So you already have that. Well, what is that going to give you back in return? So instead of focusing all the time on what something's going to cost, I want you to look at what it's going to give you. Is it going to give you back time? Is it going to give you back money? Is it going to give you back the possibility of having a different life? Is it going to give you perspective? Is it going to give you peace? Is it going to give you a sense of freedom? Is it going to give you a sense of feeling supported, safe, and secure? How much is that worth for you? Where is that at? So do you notice how I didn't say, oh, I'm abundantly rich and I can afford to invest in anything. I'm not asking you to lie to yourself, but I'm wanting you to stop telling yourself a story that is no longer serving you. And it's actually keeping you in that same loop of self-destruction and a loop of stuckness, which will eventually lead to self-destruction. Because you're only going to end up getting at a point where you're so miserable and now you're scrambling. And I don't want to see you there. I don't want to see you having a health crisis because you're so burnt out. I had to learn that way because I didn't have a me. They really didn't. I didn't have a me. I could not find someone accessible to where I felt really got it and who was real and who wasn't like pie in the sky and kept saying, well, just delegate to your team. It was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, I don't have a team. I know some of you listening have a team now, and I have a team now, but like at a certain point in the journey, like you don't have a team. I have one living relative that I'm no contact with. I don't have all these people just hanging around for help. I have to pay most everyone that does things for me. And that's okay because I take a look at what I'm gaining. So your homework is you are going to rewrite your story around your two major things. Is it time? Is it energy? Is it money? Is it I don't have what it takes? I need to be more X, Y, and Z. I need to be skinnier. I need to be younger. I need to be more tech savvy. I need to be good at social media. I need more followers. You can hold on to that story if you want and end up in the same spot. And that is an option. But I don't think you're listening to this because you want to remain in the same spot. And if you notice you're blowing off creating a new story for yourself, then I want you to ask yourself, what payoff am I getting by staying stuck? Because if you're not willing to do this simple task and listen to this 4-part series and leave a damn Apple podcast review in order for you to get my Make More and Work Less Guided Workbook Course for free. The instructions are in the show notes. You can swipe up for that. If you're not willing to get the last ticket for my 2-day business mastermind, if you're not willing to check to see if there's new posse member spots open, if you're not willing to do the homework in these episodes, that's free. You're getting high value shit for free from me. If you're not willing to do that, then there is a payoff you're getting for staying stuck in your story. It might be safer and feel safer to you to be stuck in your story. Then you don't have to do anything. There might be a pattern of you being stuck. There's people in your life that seem to help you out a lot when you're stuck. There's some codependent relationships in your life. Or it could be that you're afraid of what could happen if you aren't stuck and you are abundant. Maybe people will leave you in your life. Maybe people will abandon you. Maybe people won't relate to you anymore and won't be your friend. There's some other deeper shit going on. And I know some of you are going to resist doing this work. And it's not just that you're procrastinating. Why would you procrastinate on something that you know without a doubt works? I'm sick right now. Yes, I'm medicated. I'm sweating. I have snot coming down my nose. If you want to see all these things, you can go to YouTube. I can come here in this state and it doesn't deplete me. It energizes me. I come here in integrity. I come here because I want to. I come here because I'm excited to create this series for you because it works. And that was my promise to myself. That all these years I've been a student of law of attraction, of manifestation, of the principles, the practices, all the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars I invested in coaches and masterminds and programs for my growth, for my expansion, for my greatest good, for the ROI of all. I wouldn't be on here saying all this if I didn't know without a doubt it worked. So I know you know that. And it's not costing you anything, literally, maybe a little bit of time and a little bit of energy to rewrite your story. So there's an answer there for you. There's something for you to look at if you're resisting doing it. And I gave you the question, then it's what's my payoff for staying stuck? And a lot of this stuff is very humbling and not sexy and not cute. And I've gone through all of this. So there's no judgment from me. I have done all of this and then some. Okay. Like I have a wild, crazy brain. That's why I call you guys my fellow crazies. I get it. That's why I'm best served to coach you. If you're not a little crazy and an overthinker, my ADHDers, my multi-passionates, my overanalyzers, my flip-floppers, my avoidant attachments, my anxious attachments, my codependents, my trauma survivors, like I get you. I get you, and I've worked through it, and all of it's possible, and it's all here waiting on the other side of you, but you have to take some of these actions first. Wishing you great health, wealth, and worth as always. Love you, and see you in part 3. And make sure you go leave that Apple Podcast review so that you can get my new workbook course as soon as we release it.
If you enjoyed this podcast, please write a 5-star review on iTunes. Not only will this make me super happy, but it will allow more listeners to find our special show. Simply help me help others.